Hello my friends, welcome back to part 3 of this little, well it's not little, it's a nice little tutorial for you to try. I'm painting the windows on this for my last step. Two windows looking out into the sunset. I did attach the frame, I just mounted the painting into the frame. It's just a thin frame as you can see, with a little bit of black in between, a little bit of a gap. Which is painted black. So I just painted the inside of the frame black and it painted the outside white, as you can see, and it gives it a nice little surround, I think. So windows, I have sketched out very lightly here with just a pen. You'll see it just in a moment. So it's all about perspective and making it look like it's going outwards, and the shadows, especially on those windows, that's very important because that tells you which direction the light is coming from. So we have a little bit to do on this. It's just lots of lines basically, but I will explain to you as I'm going about perspective and how to draw these lines to create perspective going out into a view. Okay, so let's crack on. Let's have a bit of fun with this part 3, the last part of this tutorial. I hope you enjoy. Don't go anywhere. Right, let's go my friends. You should see that pretty good there now. That's looking very nice, isn't it? It's pretty much almost dry, all of this area. The middle is still wet, but it's fine. I can work away. So I don't think you can see a sketch now. I have a very light sketch on this, but you'll see me as I'm painting it. I'll explain to you what I mean. I have a little flat brush. I'm just going to dampen the flat brush and mix up plenty of white. Just white on its own. Little thinners than this. Okay, just mix plenty of white. You can do this for any painting. This would look wonderful with any type of a painting. Now I have a thin white mixed up here. I'm going to start with the perspective. So I have a window frame here and I'm going to come down at an angle like this. Now this flat brush is almost the exact width that I want, okay? So that's helping, that's a good thing. I'm coming straight down like this at an angle. So that's my bottom piece of the window going out, looking out into sunset. And it's all about angles. And it's pretty much the same for any aspect of your painting when you're creating perspective, okay? It's pretty much the same thing. Now I can see my pencil lines, but you probably can't, so I know where I'm going and I know where I'm stopping. So I have another one up here, comes up at an angle like this. Sometimes when you're doing this, you're better off just keep going right to the end, because if you stop halfway through, sometimes you get a wiggly line. Okay. It's just about keeping your lines nice and straight. That's all. As straight as you can. Now, it's not going to be perfect. It's a painting. The lines will never be absolutely perfect, okay? Let's come down on the straight one here. Now I'm going to use my brush on edge. It's just easier to get a straight line, I think, to go on edge like this. And I may have to go over some of these twice because the paint is slightly thinned out in order to help it flow. But you will see some colours through that white. Okay, so I may need to go over this once or twice, even later on. Okay, let's come down this side. And this is tricky enough to do, isn't it? It's pretty tricky, so you need to just be a little careful. If you have shaky hands, you need to be very careful. And my hands have started becoming very shaky in recent years. I don't know why, just old age I presume, but it can be frustrating sometimes. Now I'm going to explain to you in just a moment about the perspective on this, okay? Just to give you a better understanding. So there we go. That's another little piece done. The thing with perspective is you need to making something look like it's going away at an angle. So for instance, these lines are very sharp, okay, the bottom and the top, because they're above the horizon line. So the further below the horizon line you come, the sharper the angle. And the further above the horizon line you come, the sharper the angle that way, okay? You see what I mean? So these ones are sharp. These ones then are not as sharp. So the middle ones won't be as sharp as the top and bottom, okay? Because they are closer to the horizon line, your eye line. That's basically how perspective works. And that gives you the impression of something foreshortened, if you understand what I mean by that. So you can kind of get the picture now where it's getting slightly wider on the outside edge, okay, and it's getting narrower in here. So you can see the way they turn. So my eye line, if I was looking out the window, would be around the middle here. So everything below that line will go down sharper and sharper and sharper, and everything above this line will get sharper upwards, okay? And that's simply how you create perspective. That's it. That's all you have to do. Now I'm also going to come down here. I'm going to make it slightly thicker just here to suggest the back of the frame. And I will be putting kind of greys in along the shadowed side, so along this back as well is going to be grey. But I'm just going to make it thicker with the white for now. But look, just take it easy with this. Have a bit of fun. Don't be too worried. Just give it a shot. Take your time to get your lines just right. And if you like, you could even use masking tape to mask off in around squares, or even just around the outside edge. You could use masking tape for that. Once your painting is dry, you could absolutely do that. That's another interesting little tip to do to make it easier for you. But this is basically it. Adding the shadows and stuff like that will be easy enough, but my main concern is getting these lines nice and straight. Now I'll put my stick down because I don't need my stick too much. It's kind of only in the way really. So I'll just go along, bring this down like that, straight down. And also another little tip for you to get lines straight. When you're painting a straight line, push down nice and hard on your brush. That just makes it much easier to get a straight line on your painting. Because if you're trying to kind of, you know, dangle your brush like this, it's going to shake. Whereas if you push right down hard on your brush, it's much, much easier, okay? Try it. Practice on a piece of paper, trying to get straight lines. And just see how it goes for you. I'm going to come over and do this. So at least then we have the basic shape of our windows done. And we can concentrate then on the shadows and that kind of thing. But yes, it's very refreshing to paint something like this. It's completely different. You know, it's very different to what I would normally do, and it's a nice change. Very nice change. So we'll just keep going. And I'm not talking while I'm doing this, because when you talk, your hands tend to shake. There we go. And my wife was actually telling me that she loved the painting as it was, and it was a beautiful painting as it was, absolutely. She was saying maybe just to leave these out. And I thought, you know, the whole point of the painting for me is to put these windows in and see what it looks like. So that's why a lot of people were saying the painting was even nice as it is, but I really wanted to try this idea. So I'm glad I did. It's a different tutorial, isn't it? I hope you like it. I like to try something different for you every now and then, because it keeps your mind fresh, doesn't it? Okay, that's that. And it's a fine balance between getting the window frames just right. You don't want them too thick and you don't want them too thin either. It's a fine balance. So I think these are thick enough. I will add shadows into this white. I don't want to add shadows separate to the white, because they'll become very, very thick then. So I think I just keep it as I'm going. I keep it like this and add shadows into the white later. I think it'll be nice and eye-catching when it's finished. Hopefully somebody will be interested in purchasing it. It'll make a lovely little addition for a wall, won't it? Nice bright colours. There we go. That's another one done. I'm not worried if I make one or two of them slightly wider or kind of slightly messy, because I can add shadow onto this and make it so the white is thinner. The big issue with this for me is just getting the paint to cover the colours behind. So I may even have to let this dry and go over it maybe just another once, just on some of the whites, just to make them stand out a little bit more. You could probably use a palette knife as well if you like. That would be a good idea. And scrape some thick white paint onto this white, just to make it a little bit thicker and stronger. I may do that later, I'll see. Okay, so we are nearly ready for shadows, and the more detailed work will be then, you know. This is just filling in. Now, if you have any questions, please just ask, okay? I can, if you like, send on a sketch. I can forward an image to you of a sketch of a window, so you can copy the angles if you would like to do that. That's just a little idea. If you're having trouble sketching this, and you can just copy the sketch that I send you, I might even attach a link. The next job is a smaller brush, and we're going to go with some shadows. So I'm just going to find a nice small flat brush now. I think a small stubby. I'm going to mix a little bit of dark grey. So a little bit of black, a little bit of blue, and a little bit of magenta. I'm going for a nice warm grey. A purpley grey, let's say, yes? How about that? I'm not going too dark with this. Let me just keep mixing up here now. I'm just making a nice kind of a pinky, purpley grey. That's all I'm doing. Okay, I have a colour here. Let's try this and see. So what I'm going to do is, these ones are going to come down like this. Okay. And then they're going to turn inwards. Now you might not be able to see that. I might go a little bit brighter so you can see. Just so you can see. No, there's no other reason. The colour is okay, but just so you can see a little bit better. I'll go up and I'll do one up here, okay? Let's start on this side up here. So I'm going to come in at an angle like this. Come down. And it disappears above this. So it just comes right down to the top of this one. The same with this one. Because you see, it depends on the angle and if it's above the horizon or below. So because this is above the horizon line, so above your eye line, let's say, you are going to see, let me show you, you're going to see the underneath of these ones, like this. Okay, you will see the underneath of this one up here. Okay, so you'll see the underneath of those. But when you come down below the horizon, you're going to see the top of these. Here, for instance. And it will stop at the white. And then you'll see the back over here. But you won't see the top here because it's kind of hidden slightly below your eye line. Does that make sense? So that's generally how you would kind of work it. As I said, you know, you could just look at some photographs online, download some photographs and have a look. And this is the same colour as the sky almost, so you can't really see that one too much. I'll just add a little bit more white in. Just because when we're going into the dark colours above, you want a slightly lighter grey. Does that make sense? So this slightly lighter colour now, I can put here over the dark sky. Now that's starting to kind of make a bit more sense, isn't it? And then I go here, again, underneath where you can see. Like that. Is that starting to kind of, you know, can you understand a little bit better now what I kind of mean about this? It's a little tricky. It takes a while to get your head around how it all works. But you won't know till you try, will you? Let's pop this back one in here again where we can see. You probably would see a tiny bit of the top of this, but I'm going to leave it. I think that's a bit better. I'll put in this one down here. Now I will also add a little bit of tone into some of these. So what I mean by that is, if I take a little black, right? Tiny bit of black on my brush now. Same brush. And if I maybe darken some of these with some black. So it just gives a bit of a gradient. Now, you don't necessarily have to do this, but I find doing this, it gives a little bit of a gradient here and there. Okay, just a little shadow, maybe a little along the back under here. We'll go up here as well and just soften it out. You see, I'm not going all the way. It's just I'm starting off with a little black and softening it down and just lifting off. Okay, try it, and I'll put a little angle in under here. And that just gives it, you know, it just adds a little something to it, doesn't it? I think it does. You could also do the bottom, so I come in at an angle like this, okay, and swipe it backwards and soften it away. You see the way that little angle shows you the direction of the frame itself, doesn't it? It just gives you something, it just gives it a little something. Now I might take some black, and I generally tend to kind of soften the black into. I just want to really darken some of the window frame. I think it just stands out a little better. And I'm also going to take some of that grey, and while I have it on my brush, maybe add a little bit of tone to the window frame itself. So for instance, I can come along the white and just add a hint of that kind of grey through the white, just here and there, look. All right. Now I did forget one small piece, and I can see exactly where it is. I just need to take some white, and I forgot one little piece over on the right hand side here, okay? This little piece here. So I better just pop that in while it's in my head now and I can remember it. I'll just put that in, a little bit of white at the back. And I can still see some of the colours behind showing through, but I don't mind. I think that's quite nice. I like some of the colours behind showing through because it tells you it's a painting, doesn't it? So, for instance, now let's take again a little bit of that dark grey and pop a little grey down here. Now I may need to steady my hand properly for this. It's just to separate the window frame from the surround, so to speak. Just to give it that impression anyway. Okay, does that kind of does that make sense? Now, so you can see the way the frame on the painting here, it acts almost like the frame of the window as well. That's the idea that I was trying to achieve by using this floating frame. I hope it worked. I think it's quite nice. I really do. I'm going to stop at that now and maybe go over and maybe do the other side. How about that? Should we do the other side? Face that off there. The other side is pretty much the very, very same. Let me just turn my camera very slightly so you can see. This is pretty much the very, very same technique. So let's go again. Phthalo blue, a little magenta, a little black, and let's put some of these. It's going to be the very same here. I'm going to say up here, and I'll do here. I go under here, and just keep going until you're happy. As long as you're happy, that's all that matters. It's just so much fun trying something like this, because when you start to see it come together, you just feel that you've really accomplished something outside your comfort zone. It just feels fantastic to know that you've actually done this, and it's just a lovely feeling. I'm glad I tried it, because I've never actually done a tutorial on something like this before. I really haven't. So I'm very happy I did. I was worried it might look silly and ridiculous, because I'm no expert. I'm just like yourself. I just like to paint. I just like to try different things. That for me is what it's all about. Let's go down here now, put a little bit of a darker one in just down there. I'm using very thin mixes, by the way, as well. The mixes are very thinned out. It just helps the paint flow better. And we put another one here. Okay, we've that done. Then again, a little bit of that black, and add a little bit of gradient into this. You can do the very same thing with a little bit of white as well, if you wanted to just add a little dash of white into it. Very, very same thing. But it's all about the angles, okay? Just make sure, once you get your drawing right first time, after that it's easy. It's just like painting by numbers. You're filling in between the lines. That's the important part, I would say. So get your drawing just right, and that's the hard part done, really. Now I'm going to just go along down here with a little dark line. All right, maybe thicken it slightly up there. Then we have hinges. How about some hinges? Should we paint some little hinges on these frames? I'm simply going to get some grey again. It's a silvery kind of a hinge, but I think just a little bit of grey would do fine. Let's just pop a little grey here like that. We'll come in like that and down. And notice I'm not trying to be perfect with my lines, okay? There's no point in trying to be perfect with this. It's a painting, and it's supposed to look like a painting. I don't want to paint something that looks like a photograph, because that's just not entertaining or fun or relaxing for me to do. It's too much stress. I'm just being honest. But if you would like to do that, then absolutely. Now I'm going to just add a couple of darks into that little hinge. So let's put little darks around the edge. And let's pop a few holes. It's only a suggestion, that's all, isn't it? It's just a hint. I don't want to try and make it perfect by any means. Now I'm just going to take some white on the tip of my brush and just pop a little white here and there as well. Then we have a handle. I'm going to start with white for the handle, okay? Let's get a little white and just put a little front of a handle here. Like that. And we can come in like this. And then take a little dark, little black, a little bit of black on your brush. Pop a little shadow onto that. And you can make these a little thicker if you want. I might just make it a little thicker. Give it more of an impact. Is that better? I think that's better. Let's do the same over here. There we go. So you can see now how quickly it's come together just by taking your time with the sketching first with a pencil or a marker or something. Just take your time. Okay. I must do the hinges on the other side too, don't I? So let's pop the hinges in over here. I'll move the camera for you so you can see. And let's just put a little grey like that and like that and some here and some here. And we go back to our white on our pointy brush. In fact, I'll just go into my black first. Let's put a little black just around the edge of that. And then we'll go up at a slight angle. It's just a suggestion is all I want to get, okay? That's all. I'm keeping all this super loose, okay? I'm keeping it very, very loose and impressionistic. As you can see, I'm not one for huge amounts of detail. So you can see even with the screws, I'm just dabbing a few kind of light colours in there, that's all. I'm not one for putting huge amounts of detail on things like this. Now, the final step for me is to grab a palette knife, a flat palette knife, all right? And I'm going to really just add some brights along and cut some of these shadowed areas. And I'll explain to you what I mean. So get some white on your palette knife like this, little rolls of it, and you see where the shadows are kind of coming down into the whites. Let's just cut across them and drag some white paint down. Now I think that should add a lot onto the painting. A bit of texture on the window and just give you some crisp, sharp edges as well. This is fun. I'm enjoying this part because it's great when you have the tricky stuff done and you know then it's just kind of nice, relaxing, easy stuff after that. So this is nice. I like this part of the painting. I go along here as well. And there's no real way of doing this. It's just, I'm basically just adding a little texture to the window. And don't worry if you make little mistakes. That don't bother me. It's only a painting. Little mistakes can look nice sometimes. Let's go here. Just cover some of that blue underneath. And I think that's really coming to life now. It's really coming into its own. There we go. I put a little bit up there. I'll do the same on this side. I'm going to just cut across and go over some of the darks even. Just drag it down to create a bit of texture. Now I'm sure a lot of you will know how to use a palette knife, so this should be no problem for you. Just go to town and have a bit of fun. Come on. I put some along here. And I'll show you this properly now when this painting is completely finished. I'll zoom in and you will see the texture of the palette knife just a bit better, okay? Because I know it's probably not showing on camera right now. But I'm just kind of cutting across some of the joints. There. And you know, we're pretty much finished. We're there. I can't think of anything else I need to do. If you really wanted to add a little bit to this, you could just go along with maybe a little bit of dark, bit of black or something, thinned out black, and maybe just add just one or two little edges here and there, just to, you know, I suppose show all of this off a little bit more. It's up to yourself. I'm pretty happy to just leave it as it is, to be quite honest. I don't think I need to keep going. I made a mistake here. Look, I just wiped that off. And yeah, I think I'm finished. I don't worry about details, because sometimes with details, the more you do, the more you have to keep doing. Does that make sense? And you have to keep going. You can't stop. So I think that's okay. There's one small thing I wanted to do. I want to add a bit of sunset colour onto the windows. Does that make sense? So I'm just going to grab a little touch of cadmium red and a nice big chunk of cadmium yellow. I'm going to mix up a nice orange, okay, with some white, And I just want to add a hint of that colour onto the window frames here and there. So now, without being too dark with this is tricky now because I don't want to spoil what I have. Let's just try here. And just kind of drag it down along the window as well. It may be just catching some of the edges. Okay, just a tiny bit here and there. I don't want to spoil what I have. But I'm just imagining that the window frame may just catch little touches of that sunlit colour. I won't overdo it, I really won't. And lastly but not least, I'm just going to soften some of that into the white. Just with a soft brush. And my friends, I would say I am finished. I did make a tiny mistake, just a little bit up there. I just need to get some tissue and rub off just here where it went out into the sky, that little bit of white. And that's okay. That's me finished, everyone. How did you find that? I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm going to sign my name down here, because once this is signed, I know it's finished. And I won't go back at it again. I think I'll just leave well alone. So let me zoom in and show you what we've done. I think that looks quite nice. And there we go. Okay, you can see the angles now the way the black is in the window. Again, just take your time. If you're having trouble with the sketching, let me know and I can always sketch something on paper and send it to you. And there we go. So my friends, it has been an absolute joy and honour. Let me just fix this. Thank you very, very, very much for joining me. And this is the finished painting. I will zoom back and show you what it looks like. Let's go right back to the back of the studio and have a look. There we go. There. Isn't that better? That's a nice little angle for you there now to see the entire painting. Framed as well. And I hope you've enjoyed watching me. Thank you so much for joining me and for subscribing. If you haven't done so, please do so. You're helping an artist to, help other people. Okay, if you have any questions, email me, stephenconway12@gmail.com. There's a few links in the description there for you to check out. Thank you so much to my patrons for your valued support. I sincerely appreciate all your support. Every little helps. So thank you for all of that. Enjoy, have some fun, just keep it simple. Don't worry too much about getting things absolutely perfect, because it'll become frustrating. Maybe just paint everything in white and then go along with a fine pointy brush and just kind of straighten little lines and stuff like that. But don't overcomplicate it, just have some fun. All right? God bless and happy painting. I'll see you again very, very soon. Take care.